Hey guys, Gruz here. So today I'm talking about vintage Macintosh games. Games for some of the earliest Macintosh computers. Today I've got a list of my top 10 favorite games for compact Macs. You know, the old black and white Macs like the Mac Plus or Mac SE. This video will focus on games that I still consider to be fun and worth playing today. Even if you've never played a game on a vintage Mac, you'll probably find some games on this list that you like. These are the hidden gems of the early Mac. All of these games that I cover in this video will work on just the standard hardware, but I believe the minimum system would probably be the Mac Plus for most of these games, due to most of these games needing the 1 megabyte of RAM. If you enjoy this video at any time, let me know by hitting that like button. And if you're new to this channel, well, this is my nerdy channel where I talk about old computer games and stuff like that. So hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this.
Number 10. Tetris.
First on my list today is the official version of Tetris by Spectrum Holobyte. Tetris is such a classic game. It's so easy for just about anyone to pick it up and play, and no matter your skill level, will probably still challenge you. This is a beloved game. It's been released on so many platforms, it's ridiculous. But this version here was the very first commercial release of the game. The developer Spectrum Holobyte went all out with this game. It's got fantastic artwork in both black and white, as well as color. It's also got very professional sounding music. Yeah, music on a Mac game this old. That's pretty rare in itself. Something interesting about this game is that the music format used in the game is compatible with the Studio Session music software, which was known for its high-quality 6-track audio playback using sampled instruments. Don't skip out on the Mac version of this classic. The gameplay here is just as lovable as ever.
Number 9. Arkanoid.
Another well-known game that made its way to the Mac with an excellent port was the arcade classic Arkanoid. Arkanoid is similar to the classic game Breakout, only here it adds enemies, power-ups, and a backstory. The story goes that aliens destroyed your home planet, but now you and 4.5 million humans in suspended animation are on a ship called Arkanoid, searching for a new planet to call home. Well, it turns out the Arkanoid was attacked by aliens, who flooded the ship with radiation. Everyone's okay, and you eject out in a smaller ship called the Voss, which ends up getting trapped in a space labyrinth by aliens. Wow. The whole presentation here is very true to the arcade version, and it's an absolute delight to play this version of Arkanoid. The game plays perfectly using the mouse, and the gameplay is so smooth in this version. It's got a great frame rate, great graphics. You gotta see this one running on real hardware. It's amazing.
Number 8. Grid Wars.
When you start up Grid Wars, you find yourself in a place called Alfie's Bar and Grill, surrounded by all sorts of aliens. It's got a real Star Wars cantina vibe going on. The aliens force you into playing this game called Grid Wars, and you've got to fight just about everybody in the bar in order to win. And what happens when you win is that you get the privilege of buying everyone in the bar a drink. But at least they won't kick you out. Pretty crappy deal, I guess, But this is outer space we're talking about. Not a whole lot of booze floating around out there. The game's pretty easy to play. Just hold down the mouse to shoot these balls around the playing field. Technically, the game says those balls are lasers, but I just don't see it. The goal is to destroy all of the enemy's shapes that are bouncing around, while also keeping the enemy's grid from growing enough to touch your side of the board. If it does touch your side, that's it. It's game over. The game's got great artwork, awesome sound effects, and some really interesting gameplay. I always loved the more imaginative Mac games, and this one is definitely that. A real hidden gem on early Mac.
Number 7. Continuum.
Continuum is an arcade-style shooter inspired by the classic arcade game Gravatar. Here, you fly your ship through different planets, balancing momentum and gravity, trying not to crash into the walls while you take on a ton of different enemies. The game's got a massive amount of content with over 60 planets, and a level editor to make and share your own planets. This game was jokingly released as beerware, though it's actually freeware. But don't let that scare you off. It is with no doubt a commercial quality game. It's absolutely a fantastic game. Very challenging, but I highly recommend it.
Number 6. Prince of Persia.
Of all the original releases of the classic Prince of Persia, the Macintosh version always stood out to me as an exceptionally high-quality game. This game was released for both black and white and color Macs, and both versions look and play great. Personally, I'd say the color Mac version was the best looking of all the original ports, but these black and white graphics are not bad. This game translated to black and white surprisingly well. You can tell the developers specifically crafted these black and white graphics and didn't just convert the color ones. Gameplay here is classic Prince of Persia platforming. You've got to make it through the stages and rescue the princess within an hour. Not an easy game, and will definitely take some trial and error to get through the levels in a timely enough fashion. If you love Prince of Persia and you haven't checked out the black and white version, I recommend you do.
Number 5. SimCity.
SimCity was such a fantastic game on the original Macintosh. In my opinion, the game perfectly utilized the early graphical user interface that Apple was pushing so hard with the Macintosh. SimCity is an open-ended game, where there is no real winning or losing, but the goal of it more or less is to build a successful city and manage it over time. The game being open-ended is a serious strength in my own experience. It really does feel timeless, where you can still pick it up and get lost in it for hours. The game is, at this point, over 30 years old. And that doesn't matter at all, because it's still good.
Number 4. Glider 4.0.
When it comes to black and white compact Macs, one of the most defining games of these computers was the Glider series by John Calhoun. In this game, you control a paper airplane navigating a house, trying not to crash into common household items such as candles, bottles, and faulty electrical sockets. Glider started out as this cute, beloved little shareware game. Just a few rooms, a few hazards to get past. But this version, 4.0, actually came out as a commercial product. It further developed the formula, adding new hazards, new rooms, a level editor, which had the ability to save house files, so you could play and share them with people on the internet. It was such a feature-packed game. This game has a very fun, imaginative atmosphere. Most longtime Mac users will already know all about this game, but if for some reason you haven't played it, I highly recommend it.
Number 3. Uninvited.
As far as adventure games go, the early Macintosh had so many choices. Of course, you had your text-only adventure games, all the way to graphical adventures, like those made with World Builder. But before World Builder, we had the Mac Venture series, featuring one of my favorite adventure games ever, Uninvited. This is a horror game. The story goes that you and your brother were driving, you ended up getting lost, then you end up crashing the car. When you came to, your brother was gone. Once you get out of the car, it explodes, and you're stuck here at this mansion with a storm brewing in the distance. In this game, you've got to uncover the secrets of the haunted mansion, solving logic puzzles to further unlock areas of the mansion. The goal is to save your little brother before you become possessed by evil spirits. The game's got good writing and an interesting story. It's got haunting black and white graphics and fantastic sound for the time. If you're into adventure games, definitely check this one out. The puzzles are a little cryptic, so it might take a few hints from a walkthrough to figure everything out, but overall, it's a fantastic game.
Number 2. Dark Castle.
I don't think there's a game for Macintosh, in general, that I've spent more time with than the original Dark Castle. Dark Castle is a platformer where you play the role of an unnamed hero whose mission is to defeat the evil ruler of Dark Castle, the Black Knight. If I was to describe this game to someone who's never played it before, I'd call it a beefed up version of Pitfall, with several arcade game elements mixed in. You've got stages with Galaga-style action, you've got Donkey Kong-style stages, puzzles, some interesting enemies, and some great platforming throughout the game. I plan on going into this game a little more in depth in a future video, but I'll tell you, it was developed by an excellent team. First, you had Charlie Jackson, who was an amazing businessman and could put together a great team. Then you had Jonathan Gay, an amazingly talented programmer. I mean, the guy created freaking Adobe Flash. Then there was Eric Zucker, who was one of the early pioneers of digital audio on the Macintosh. And finally, Mark Pierce, who was the designer and artist for the game. He handcrafted the Dark Castle world and brought it to life. Pierce wasn't just good with graphics. He is an absolute legend as far as I'm concerned. This game was seen as one of the best on the platform, though most people know it today for its terribly botched ports. It's a shame, because the original version was so much fun. It was fantastic, and no one had ever really seen anything like it at the time. It was marketed as an interactive cartoon, and was one of, if not the first game ever, to hire a professional voice actor to voice the in-game characters. Absolutely an amazing, memorable game that I can't recommend enough.
Number 1. Beyond Dark Castle.
It's tough to choose between the original Dark Castle and its sequel, Beyond Dark Castle. Both games are platformers and can seem very similar on the surface. Overall, the objectives of each game are very different. In the original Dark Castle, you just had to make it through the levels, dodging enemies and obstacles. Clearly was intended to have a lot of fast arcade action. And yes, that's still here in Beyond Dark Castle. But this game developed more of the adventure game style, which was very different than the original. Beyond Dark Castle picks up where the original Dark Castle left off, where Prince Duncan, yes, they didn't name the hero until the sequel, had just toppled the Black Knight and was picked up and tossed into the dungeon. Since then, he's found his way behind the throne room and is ready to take out the Black Knight once and for all. The quest here is to find 5 orbs throughout the castle and return them to pedestals in the anteroom. When this is done, the main gate will unlock and you'll have a chance at a final battle with the Black Knight. This game was absolutely mind-blowing when it came out back in 1987. The graphics, the sound, the gameplay, everything about this game was so smooth and such a delight to play. In my opinion, this game went unmatched in terms of quality and elaborate design. For the entire period, the original black and white Macs were relevant. It's a very special game. Well, that's it guys. Those are my own picks of the best games for compact Macs. I'd say that's a nice variety of games, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that like button to let me know. It really helps out this little channel of mine. I'd also love to hear what your favorite games were for the original Macs. Let me know in the comments. Thanks guys. I'll see you soon with a new video. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Goodbye.